So we're going to give the GetFit Mining updates for May 4th. And I want to remind everybody as I'm going through these slides that we are a 100% community-driven project. That means the success of this project is in the community's hands. That's what peer-to-peer means. By being 100% decentralized, by this being completely managed by smart contracts, you don't have anything in the background making up market values, taking money from smart contracts and liquidity and all of this good stuff. Okay, so if the community is active, then you've got a strong project. And if they're not, well, then, you've got a weak project. That's just plain and simple. So a sleeping community is a sleeping project. But if everybody is excited about Get Fit, they start learning how to explain it, and you start sharing this, then you've got a very robust project that is community driven. That's here for many, 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 many years, even beyond my life, because it is community driven. It's not something that's made up with somebody pushing buttons in the background and a community wondering who's going to run and when they're going to run with money. So let's start with what our liquidity promotion goals were that were actually supposed to be to today. Okay, so May 5th was going to be our big day. May 4th, our announcements, May 4th, May 5th. And our goal was to have 25,000 Omega sales on May 4th. But then, we've got some amazing, people that have gotten involved in the community that have been sharing Get Fit, the concept, and have really, we've started to get some momentum and some traction here. And had we met our goals May 4th, we would have been in a different space than what we are today. So what we've done is we are taking these goals into July. And this right here is going to show you what we've had to date. We've had, I'm sorry. If we would have had 5,000 sales at 200 like we had planned, we would have had $1 million in sales. 5,000 at 300, we would have had $1.5 million in sales. 5,000 at 400 would have been 2 million in sales. 5,000 at 500 would have been 2.5 million in sales. The commissions that would have been paid out in that would have been 4,900,000. And what would have been there for liquidity would have been 2,100,000. And then the dock slot fees would have matched that 2,100,000. And we would have had total liquidity of 4,100,000. We would have been able to drive the market up into the dollar range, or we would have settled in at a stable liquid market of around 5 to 10 cents, depending on what the community was doing in between, meaning if they were selling as that liquidity goes in and whatnot. But at this level, we could have even reached levels of $6.88. Okay, and this is just at a promotional level. This isn't a promise of that price. It's telling you what we could have done with that kind of sales. This is what we have had. We had 110 sales at $200. We had 300 at 300. We had 105 at 400, and we had 42 at 500. And I believe that was a total of 557 sales. 22,000 is what the total sales were at 200. 70% of that was paid out in commission, so 15,400, and 30% is there for liquidity, 6,600. At the $300 tier, we had 300 sales, so that was sales of $90,000, 70% of which was paid out in commissions, which was $63,000. 30% for liquidity is $27,000. We had 105 at $400, so that's 42,000 in sales. 70% of that was paid out in commission for 29,400. And then 30% is there for liquidity, the 12,600. And then 42 sales at $500 is 21,000. 70% is 14,700 paid in commission. 30% of that is 6,300 for liquidity. So total commissions paid is 122,500. What is remaining for liquidity is 52,500. And then with the dock slot fees, not everybody has opened up all six. There's $46,788. So for total liquidity, you're looking at $99,288. Now, Our goals that we want to meet by the end of June is at least a minimum of 15,000 Omega sales at $500. Okay, that's getting us back up to what our goals were for May. And now that we've got, we're getting much more traction, more momentum, people are starting to hear about GetFit. I think we can reach those goals. So that would be about $7.5 million in sales. The commissions that would be paid out on that would be $5,250,000. That would leave $2,250,000 for liquidity. The dock slot fees would be roughly around $1 million in B&B from slots 1 through 6. And then, well, 1.5 million, sorry. 1 through 6, yeah. Current. I think I've got an extra dot slot thing in there. So I gotta ignore the 1 million. The dock slot fees 1 through 6 would be a 1.5 million in B&B. We're getting ready to unlock dock slot 7. And if every person that is currently mining unlocks that 7th dock, it would be $1 million in GFAM. Because dock slot 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12 use GFAM. 1 through 6 uses B&B. 7 through 12 uses the GFAM. Now, if we reach our goals, we could still be at that $1.13 to that $6.88 price range. Now, why is it $6.88? Because when people are unlocking dock slot 7, they have to go buy GFAM. So the market will be driving up the value of the GFAM. And then the sales will be stabilizing it with that liquidity that we'll be injecting. And so opening up those dock slots is going to be a big deal. And we are not far from it. We were going to open originally at 7,500 miners in the dock. However, there's not enough GFAM in the pool and it would overinflate it. So we're waiting until we hit the 10,000 miners in the dock slot, which gives us time to inject that liquidity over the next couple of weeks. And so the goal would be to open up that 7th slot, hopefully by the middle of May. And we're about 2,200 miners away from reaching that. And so you're going to be using GFAM to unlock that 7th slot. Hope everybody's following me. So far, the GFAM purchased with the current Omega sales has been 2,834,000. The GFAM from the BUSD pool is 6,634,090 that will be injected into the USDT pool, with approximately $45,819 that has been converted from BUSD into USDT. So right now, for liquidity, there is a total of 9,468,090 GFAM. So by opening up that dock slot 7, we are going to be able to have that demand for that GFAM will be there. So we'll be able to inject that liquidity and people will be buying that GFAM to unlock those mining dock slots. So we'll be able to pair that 9,468,000 GFAM to the USDT and start injecting that at a market demand. You don't want to flood it if the demand is not there. The dock slot 7 opens at 10,000 miners in the dock. Okay, it will be $45 in the GFAM. Dock slot 8 opens at 20,000 miners in the dock, and that will be $50 in GFAM. Dock slot 9 opens at 30,000 miners in the dock, and that'll be $55 worth of GFAM. So once we reach that milestone of 10,000, then the next milestone is 20, the next milestone is 30, and that will be done in GFAM. So our goals to meet between now and the end of June are at least the 15,000 sales of the Omega promotion. And I already kind of went over this with you. It's a duplicate slide, but I did this on purpose because I want everybody to see how this is moving. Because if we have those sales, and then of course people are unlocking that dock, we've got that GFAM that we can inject into that liquidity pool. And I'm going to explain to you why here in a minute. So like Brandon just said, the 3 Omega miners, we're going to cut those packages in half. If you go back to my slide here, the best selling point was $300. That's when we had our most momentum, when we had sold those 300 packages in that. I think we had that for 1 week is all. and we did triple what we did in any of the other levels. So we know that that $300 mark, that's a comfort zone for people at the moment. So we can't lower the price of the Omegas. They're already too low. They're already 95% off of the original full price that they'll be going to in June. So we are splitting that in half. You can get 3 Omega miners for $250. And then you can buy a second package if you want 6. We are going to be adding the alpha miners to the package. So if people want the 3 alpha miners, they can get those for $200. If they want 6, they can get those for $400. And the 6 primary miners will be increasing to $250 for 6 of those. Once we reach June 9th, the price is going to change for our promo. You will be able to get 3 Omega miners for $350, but you will be buying those with GFAM, not B&B. At this point, we should have ramped up the momentum. Now we want people using the token, the utility of that token, which now the community will be driving that price, and then the sales will be stabilizing that liquidity. So if you want 6 Omega miners beginning June 9th, it will cost $700. The market value will be much higher at that point, and so we will be able to justify that price point of those miners. The 3 alpha miners to be determined. Well, we haven't really figured out what that market value will be yet, so we'll let you know here shortly. The 6 primary miners, we will probably leave those at the $250 for the duration of this promotion. Our goal, obviously, is not to have 10 sales per day. It's to at least reach 300 to 400 sales per day, but I'm going to break this down to you in little bits. 10 Omega sales is $5,000. The commissions that are paid out on that is $3,500. That would leave a remaining amount of $1,500 for liquidity. So basically, for every 10 Omega sales, that's 60 Omega miners that's going into the mining dock. $1,500 from the sales plus $1,000 from the current liquidity will be injected. So that would be a daily liquidity injection of $2,500. If there were 100 Omega sales each day, that's $50,000 in sales. That's paying out commissions of $35,000. That leaves $15,000 for liquidity. So for every 100 Omega sales, that's 600 Omega miners docked. That would be $15,000 from sales plus $10,000 from the current liquidity would be injected. So it would be a daily injection of $25,000 of liquidity. The GetFit challenges are going to begin on, our goal is by May 15th. So the Health Connect has put us behind a few weeks. I was just telling on Sergey's Zoom meeting this morning, it's pretty bad when our app works better than Android's new Health Connect app. I mean, I'm excited about that, but pretty bad. Ooh, I misspelled challenges. That's embarrassing. The performance rewards, everybody who is asking about staking will be unlocked by latest tomorrow morning, but quite possibly even yet this afternoon. That's being worked on as we are on this presentation. By mid-May, when we launch the challenges, the performance rewards will also begin. So what is going to replace the staking rewards? Because the ink is still, I always say this with crypto because it's so the truth. The ink is still wet on the paper, okay? Regulations are always coming into place, and so we have to make sure we're completely compliant at every level. And the way the SEC is, you know, that Gary Gensler, I mean, he's got it out for the crypto space. I have my own opinion as to what his, you know, personal reason is for that, but it still doesn't matter. As long as he's chairman, we're stuck with him. And so we want to be very careful and make sure that we are compliant and we're following regulations to the best of what our knowledge is of them to be today. Knowing that that attack is on certain crypto things, we're going to refrain from doing GFAM staking until we get a conclusive, yes, you're good to go, then we'll go back to that staking. So what will happen is now your rewards are going to be based on your performance, not the amount of GFAM that you've put in the staking contract, but it'll be based on your day-to-day performance, and it will still reward 10% from all the transactions that take place from the ecosystem that everybody is participating in, but your rewards are going to come from your individual fitness activity. So this way, you can't, what the SEC has issues with is when you're getting a return on your investment, if it's a collective effort from groups of people, meaning it has nothing to do with your performance or the work that you do, that has everything to do with a group of people's work. So until we get clarification and I get a complete green light on the staking, performance rewards are going to take that place. And that means you'd be receiving USDT, BNB, and GFAM currently for those performance rewards. So as long as you're submitting, as long as you're active, you qualify for those performance rewards. So that again, you're in control of everything you do here. It's not a collective effort of anybody. That is it there as far as that goes. But what I do want to show you real quick, I'm going to go over here to the internet, and I want to show you on the exchange currently. There are only 973,300 GFAM in the liquidity pool right now. So we need to begin injecting this liquidity because we didn't reach our goals. Nobody's going to see anything fantastic like we were really hoping for in May. Again, community driven. If the community isn't driving it, then there's no gas. We want to get the Bugatti on the road, and we want to take the old broken down Chevette off the track. It's time to really get this moving. And the community isn't in control of that. If you want to see market value, you're going to drive that market value. There is nobody behind the scenes driving this. It is literally driven by the community. The community has to do this. With there only being that 900,000 GFAM, you can see here, if we were to take the remaining liquidity to buy, or the remaining amount of USDT that we have, that we need to buy GFAM with, it would take all of it and it would drive the market up to 0.57 cents. Here's what would happen. Because 90% of your people are not responsible with new projects in little tiny liquidity pools. And this is what we have right here. We have a baby community. We have a baby pool. When the community grows, then we have, it's 1 o'clock. That siren's going off. That's what you guys are hearing. So when this happens, if we were to take all of that GFAM that's currently in that pool and drive it up to 5 cents, there would only be a handful of people rushing there to get all of that out of there at the highest price they could, knowing full well that the liquidity wasn't there to stabilize it. And so we have to start injecting this gradually. Had we reached the sales that we had wanted to reach, we'd have been solid. We'd have gone in there. We could have drove it up to that nickel. We could have, injected that liquidity to stabilize that market value. Unfortunately, we didn't get there. So we have to really ramp things up. So again, I want everybody to understand it's not the project, okay, that's in control of this. It's the community. The community is in full control. It's smart contract managed. We don't inflate the market value. We don't, create a price that really isn't there, that's stable. And if we did it today, guess what would happen? Told you that was a pump and dump. Look at that. They drove the price up to 5 cents. And it's already back down to 0.006. What'd I tell you? Yeah, I think I'll stay away from that project. And that's the optics that we would have given. I think that's it for today, unless there's something that you guys can think of. Those who are asking about LPTR, we'll have an update for you on that in the next 2 to 3 weeks. Nothing will happen there before June 9th. And that was for early on people. Like there's like 25 or 30 of you. So we won't discuss that on today's call because it doesn't pertain to anybody else. And I think, so we've got the promotions, the extensions, the prices. I think that's everything I had. For some reason, I feel like I'm missing something though. Am I? So yes, they do. So they still are participating in the ecosystem. So it's free to get Bob, and that first doc slot is also free. So they would still have to, submit that proof of physical activity. They would still be claiming, they can still join challenges. They can still create challenges. So they can actively participate throughout the entire ecosystem using Bob. And it is a really good place to get students set up. And then once we really get rolling out and we have a strong community, if we can reach our 25,000 goal we're going to be able to start doing more reach out for, like your teenage types, your students, in that teenage level. We can't do below that because we don't want to be responsible for them doing too much activity. But basically, we're the community, we can start setting aside some of our funds that would be considered profit that we can share to get students set up, so we can start promoting like college and things like that to them, where they can start like kind of a college savings account, basically. So the faster we grow, the more we'll be able to help kids. So getting them started and with Bob is great, because then in the future we can help them get upgraded into even the primary miners and be able to help cover those mining dock slot costs that they have from the community engagement itself. Because I mean, our goal is to help people worldwide, and if we can help students better their future, then that's obviously something that we're working towards as well. So to get on like your big exchanges, let's say to be listed like on CoinMarketCap, to be listed on Binance, that kind of thing, you need to be doing about 600 million a day in volume. So that will give you an idea of where we're at. You're welcome, everybody. See you later.